I'm Hamish, this is Stan, and this is Civil Banter. We're two civil litigators at Nelligan Law, helping people through injuries, insurance fights, and life's legal curveballs. Episode number 14.
Catastrophic Impairment, the high stakes determination.
Okay, so getting right into our first segment, we're going to revisit Two Truths and a Lawyer.
Everyone's favorite segment by now. We're going to need a new segment soon. Well, we got a lot of lawyers to work through, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who are we dealing with this week?
We're going to be dealing with Mr. Jonathan Constable. So,
Okay. Our Broadway star.
So, in this segment, I've picked out a bio of one of our Nelligan lawyer colleagues, and I'm going to be feeding you 3 statements from their bio, 2 of which are the truth, 1 of which is a lie.
All right. Didn't go great last time, but I'm back for redemption. Let's go. Bring it on.
So, Jonathan's bio is quite out of date.
Oh.
So I kind of did my own intro for him. So
Okay.
This is how I describe him. Jonathan Constable is an associate lawyer at Nelligan Law and a member of our litigation team.
Very factual start.
That was the part from the bio.
Okay.
So my description is he excels in construction defect cases, neighbor disputes, and real property litigation.
Yep.
I think that's fair.
That is fair.
I think I'll also add in John knows and gets excited by drainage issues, unlike any other lawyer at the firm.
He has a collection of some of the most unique files of any lawyer going, I think.
He does. He does insurance work too, and I knock on his door all the time, especially when it comes down to property, maps, anything like that.
Yeah, he's good at everything, but if it's outside of your normal routine type of file, it is in his wheelhouse.
So, the 3 statements are as follows. John did a master's degree in biochemistry.
Okay.
John has 3 feline friends.
Okay. I've never ever heard of him mentioning cats, but okay.
Mr. Constable plays guitar.
Oh my God. All 3 of these are both plausible and possibly untrue as well. So I know he's got a background in science-y stuff. I don't know if it's biochemistry or some other branch of science, and I don't know if it's a master's degree. So I don't know. 3 cats, never heard him talk about his 3 cats if he has them, and plays the guitar. I don't know if he plays the guitar. I've never seen him play guitar. So I'm going to guess that he does not have 3 cats because it's an oddly specific number.
I'm sorry, Stan.
He does have 3 cats?
Now, he said that he told me his profile is quite out of date.
Uh-huh.
There's some possibility that
There's
there've been
4 or
changes
2?
I don't know. It might have gone up or down, but I can say according to bio, he does have 3 cats.
Multiple cats.
3 of them.
Interesting.
John also plays guitar.
So is it the master's is untrue then? But he does have some kind of science background, right?
You're right.
Yeah.
John has completed a Master of Science in Neuroscience at Carleton University.
Wow.
Yeah. So I tried to trip you up. I successfully tripped you up.
2 in a row now.
This episode, though, we're not talking tripping up. We're not talking.
That was last episode.
That was last episode. We are talking catastrophic impairment, and we're going to send you back to episode 6 and 7, where we discuss a bit of the framework around accident benefits, because this dovetails into that.
We do a bit of a overview of what exactly accident benefits are, what you can avail yourself of if you've been injured in a car accident. We strongly recommend you go back to those, give them a listen. It'll give you a little bit of a framework for what they are. But today we're going to be discussing catastrophic impairment, which is a level of accident benefits eligibility that those who have been obviously catastrophically impaired are eligible to receive.
Yeah, and so, 30,000-foot view, accident benefits, all I'll say is that when you're injured in a car accident and you're making a claim typically against your own insurance company for medical and rehabilitative benefits. Now, the benefit categories are broader than that, and there are different levels or thresholds. That's my wording, but caps on different categories of benefits. The basic one is minor injury guideline, which is a monetary limit of $3,500 in treatment costs. The next one up is $65,000 over a 5-year period. And then the highest category is the catastrophic impairment category, and that is up to $1 million of benefits for lifetime.
Yeah. And so reserved for the most serious accidents that have the most serious injuries and require intensive care needs going forward. We see it most often with attendant care. That something that if somebody really needs help, PSW help, they'll have eligibility to $6,000 a month with a catastrophic finding.
And then in addition to attendant care, the things that you can get that are different than the lower categories are housekeeping assistance.
And that's big for people who've suffered really bad physical or psychological injuries. They need that housekeeping help, and it's available with a catastrophic finding.
Yeah, so it's a combination of the monetary amount is higher, the amount of time over which you can claim the benefits is longer, unlimited up to your life up until the day you die.
Yeah.
And then the categories of benefits you can get are also tweaked and different and more inclusive. So
how does one go about being found to be catastrophically impaired?
Well, the form you submit.
Oh wait, there's an insurance form.
Yeah, well, if we're talking on accident benefits, we're talking paperwork, forms, obscure numbers, and codes.
Yeah.
So
the number one reason why you might want legal assistance, just get you out of the forms. It's brutal.
So the form is the OCF 19, which I believe is just Ontario Claim Form 19.
I think so, and it's a catastrophic impairment application, or I guess properly titled Application for Determination of Catastrophic Impairment.
And it needs to be completed by a physician.
That's a medical doctor. MD.
Exactly. And there are different different criteria under which you can apply for the designation that you are catastrophically impaired. Some of these are a bit less contentious, because it's more of just a factual determination, and there still is the requirement to have a physician complete this form, but it's a bit more straightforward in terms of the medical evidence involved and really the scope for your insurance company to disagree with you. So
some of them are pretty obvious, right? So if you've been paralyzed or rendered a quadriplegic as a result of the accident, you very obviously have suffered a catastrophic impairment. You're never going to get fought on that issue. If you've suffered vision loss in both eyes, also catastrophic impairment. If you've had the loss of a limb, 2 limbs actually, it's not just one, but then you're catastrophically impaired, or obviously a total loss of brain function. So these are extremely serious. We never get pushback on those types of applications. They just proceed, and the person is deemed catastrophically impaired, and up goes their benefits and onwards with recovery.
Yeah, and there are some quite technical definitions where sometimes we'd still need, at the end of the day, we're lawyers. We don't have medical expertise, save for Sam Short of our office, who does,
yeah,
because he practiced as a physician for many decades. But as a rule, we might still need to get a medical opinion, because some of the definitions involve categories of brain bleeds and loss of function and stuff like that. But really, I'd say most of our cases where we're talking about catastrophic impairment, we're talking about one of 2 different criterion that are not the most severe ones, because the other 2 criterions, the ones where there's more scope for disagreement.
Yeah, there's a
between.
lot of shades of gray on those. So the first categories we talked about, very black and white. You were either a quadriplegic or you're not, right?
Mhm.
And on these two other ways of becoming catastrophically impaired or getting the designation, is the first one would be if you have a 55% or greater whole person impairment. It's a really technical bit of language about a specific test and procedure that you have to follow to be deemed to have suffered a 55% whole person impairment. And there's hoops that you have to go through. We're not going to get into how that test works, but it's just a way of going about it. And that's if you've suffered serious injuries, but they're not loss of limbs and they're not quadriplegia, but combined, they add up to a point where you are significantly impaired, and that the totality of your injuries puts you in a position that you're very, very hard to get by on your own and to do your daily activities. And so that's where we get to that point.
Right. And so that looks at, as you said, the totality. It's not looking at things in isolation. As we said, loss of two limbs puts you in a more black and white category. But what happens if you have not lost any limb, but you have big functional issues with multiple limbs?
Yeah.
Um, so the other criterion that we see a lot of insurance fights about is criterion 7, and this is essentially where a mental or behavioral disorder causes you to be catastrophically impaired. And there are two different routes here, and the routes have changed over time. Essentially, the test has got more and more strict over time. But
Yeah. Good old days of one marked impairment ended, and we're into three now.
yeah, so the way to think about this is there is four different domains, which I'm going to say are areas of your life, which we look at whether you have impairments or issues in. And then when we look at those domains, we assign, or not, we assign it, you get an assigned rating
By the physician.
by the physician on a 5 point scale. And 5 is an extreme impairment. If you have an extreme impairment in any one of these parts of your life, then you are catastrophically impaired.
Yeah. If it totally precludes useful function.
Yeah, that's the test as set out. However, if in 3 areas of your life you have a class 4 marked impairment, which is an impairment that significantly impedes functioning, then you are also catastrophically impaired. So again, there's some flexibility here in that we're considering your life and we're considering whether there's one aspect which is just so extremely impaired that you're catastrophically impaired as a whole. It's like overriding. However, we also consider that, well, if there are multiple areas of your life that are less than extreme impaired but still have a significant impairment, then you can still be catastrophically impaired.
Yeah, and those four areas are activities of daily living. So, are you able to shower independently, get out of the house, do your food, cooking, laundry, the stuff that everybody does every day? It's exactly what it sounds like. It's an activity of daily living. The second area would be in terms of social functioning. Are you interacting with friends and family? Are you able to get out of the house? Are you interacting appropriately? Or are you suffering from some kind of mental disorder that gets in the way of useful function? So that's the second sphere. The third one would be concentration, persistence, and pace. Again, it is what it sounds like. Are you able to get tasks done and concentrate on doing them? Can you power through the difficulties you may have doing that with the ability to persist? And then pace. If you're able to do these things, but you're operating at less than half the speed of a normal person, you're very significantly impaired, and you would not have the ability to get things done as a normal person would. And then the last area would be adaptation to work or work like settings. So if you used to have a job and then you get in an accident, you suffer serious injuries, and you're no longer able to work because you can't function in a workplace, that would be indicative of a marked impairment in adaptation.
Yeah, and I think the adaptation one, just an interesting thing I heard from a psychiatric assessor recently. She told me that, and she drew this differentiation between there's employability and then there's adaptation in work, and they are two different things. And the example she gave was if someone's unemployed because they don't have the paper credentials, or they haven't sent out enough resumes, or the market is bad for that type of job, then that's a totally distinct
Right. They're
concept.
unemployed, but they're not unemployable.
Right. They're two different concepts. And so we look at these four domains, and it's the same assessor also described it as a qualitative assessment. So it's not, while at the end of the day, a number or a category gets assigned to this: marked impairment, extreme impairment, moderate impairment. It's a qualitative analysis where it describes what it is like, what the effect is, in a way which is not just bringing out a tape measure and measuring something. It's
Yeah,
not.
you don't do a test and get a score. It's a lot more of a judgment call, and it's looking at the totality of somebody's lived experience and looking at everything that they go through and deciding if this person, if their function is impaired, basically. Like, are they able to be a useful member of society as they were before this accident? And if they're not, then how bad is it?
Right. And so, in terms of the types of assessors and the people who actually make this judgment call, it really is a combination. The person who ultimately needs to do the application, as we said, the OCF 19 is a physician. The people who can contribute to the conclusion and the finding and justify the opinion is broader than that. So, occupational therapists, they play a big role, and that essentially the best placed position to be assessing someone's activities of daily living and how they function within their home.
Yeah, they're specially trained to assess function and to interpret how somebody's function might be impaired, whether it's physically in terms of range of motion, grip strength, if they're unable to navigate certain features of their home. That is part of what an occupational therapist will assess, but they'll also assess cognitive function to some extent and their ability to interact with others. And they look at really every aspect of somebody's life. On these types of claims, it's usually over the course of at least 2 days. They will meet with the injured person and assess their function in the home setting, and then in a community-based assessment. So they'll go with them to run an errand or to the store or out and about and see if they're able to go about their business as normal or if there's impairments there.
And then once that occupational therapist has given their opinion and their evidence, that is then relied upon by often a psychiatrist, because remember, we're talking at the end of the day, we're talking mental and behavioral disorder. So a psychiatrist or a doctor in combination with perhaps a psychologist or perhaps a neuropsychologist.
Yeah. And that's where that MD designation comes in. And so that's typically why we would rely on the psychiatrist in that situation. But they're the ones who ultimately have to make the call, and they base it on the evidence that's available, which will be the medical records, the occupational therapy assessment report, their own clinical interview of the applicant, and also whatever testing they perform, if they do perform any kind of testing. Sometimes psychiatrists do, sometimes they don't. You see it more often on psychology than anything else, and that's all instructive. But at the end of the day, it's actually a legal determination that has to be made by an adjudicator, and they base their decision on the evidence available to them, but it's ultimately a legal decision.
And what is the venue for that legal decision?
It's the License Appeal Tribunal in Ontario. So, in as of 2016, which is now a decade ago, it's crazy how time flies. I practiced briefly before the LAC came into effect, and you could bring court applications, but now you have to go through a specialized tribunal, the License Appeal Tribunal, where an adjudicator is assigned to hear this evidence. Typically is done over video conference where the experts are called in, they give evidence over video, they're cross-examined by video, the adjudicators on video, and it goes by remarkably quickly. You know, these are done in 4 or 5 days, and it's crazy because up to $1 million is at stake or more, frankly, when you put the other aspects of the claim on it, and it's over in what feels like the blink of an eye for our clients.
Yeah. So lots to unpack, lots more to say about this subject, but we'll leave it for there for the time being. And Stan will say our goodbyes. I'll ask, where can you find our team?
You can find us at nelliganlaw.ca. You can also find us on LinkedIn. I'm at linkedin.com/IN/Stanford Cummings.
And I am on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/H Mills McEwen. And if you have comments, questions, topic suggestions, questions about anything we went over specifically in this episode, please reach out to us. You can reach out to us at civilbanter@nelliganlaw.ca.
And as always, like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.